Love Life Hacks. Drink us up, baby. Hi, welcome to another episode of
Love Life Hacks, available at an internet button near you.
Absolutely, we'll be selling these soon for sure. We are talking about our Love Life Hacks mugs, available for purchase soon. I'm your host, Tracy Love. This is my husband,
Chris Silver.
And we're here to get into another episode of unsolicited dating and marriage advice.
Absolutely.
You know what's on my mind today?
Because you might as well come to us.
You might as well. Why not? Look at us.
We're a successful marriage. In a successful marriage. We also are successful. We're successful, period. Hey, I've actually done weddings. We didn't even talk about that in our first episode.
Well,
today's our second episode.
Yeah.
I have conducted, officiated, ministered in weddings.
Yes.
A couple of them. I've also given premarital counseling to some couples. I mean, you know how some people, this is how this podcast came about, right? But hey, welcome to our second episode. You know how some people are like the kind of people that just find themselves often giving advice to others or just being asked for like input
oh my God, yes.
by others, by couples and people. Turns out we're both some people.
Right. And I don't know if my advice has been helpful. People say that it has been, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know if you should actually do what I would do, but here's what I would do.
On a serious note, what you're going to learn about this wonderful woman is she likes to diminish her qualities sometimes.
I'm afraid of my own power.
True. But you've actually helped quite a lot of people and done some awesome things. If you go out there and ask,
that's true.
They'll tell you.
That is true. You'll find someone.
Some people will toot your horn very loudly on this topic, and possibly also mine. But we're both people that folks have come to quite a lot. Maybe we just have something that people trust or whatever it is. But we felt it would be good to do this here and share what we have learned.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. We're always learning as we go along.
Always. Thank God.
And we're honest about that with each other.
Lifelong lesson learner.
Like in this relationship, we try not to be the kind that keep explaining to each other how things should be or how the relationship should work, but to come from a vulnerable place and say, hey, what can I learn here? What am I not seeing that you can open my eyes to?
That is beneficial because, one, if you're choosing to be in a relationship with someone, then you are choosing to live as one and move as one. So we should absolutely trust their point of view.
Amen. What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the long haul and patience in relationships.
Patience, which last time you told us was a top priority for you and
absolutely
the partner that you were looking for, that you were manifesting.
Yeah, and you know what? That was probably for purely selfish reasons because I know that I'm still growing. So if I wanted to be in a relationship right now, I would definitely need to be in a relationship with a person who recognizes that I am still growing and evolving and ever changing. And I would need someone who could be patient enough with me to see me and to love me for who I am now and who I will be and give me the grace. I did not want to pretend like I was a whole and perfect woman.
So how about your own patience? Where do you see that?
I feel like I have been patient, but I kind of had a naive patience. I've been living with a spirit of openness for a very long time that I am slowly shutting down. Not that I'm changing my level of openness. I'm changing what I am open to and how open I am to certain aspects of life. And I feel like I was giving partners the grace to not need to be as patient as I am, which was detrimental.
Right.
because then I feel like, I wanted to receive what I had been given. It's only fair. And
Absolutely.
also, I know that I wanted to learn how to be more patient. So I needed a teacher. I needed a patient guru. I needed a patient master. I know that that was important. I know that if I'm going to walk with a pace of grace in this world, I knew that I needed to be in a relationship with a man who could model that.
What a concept. Like if something that you actually know you're already pretty good at, you're now looking for someone who exceeds that in you so you can become a master of it.
Take me to the next level.
You can reach mastery of that.
Come on.
That's amazing.
Come on.
It's a great concept.
I knew there was more.
Like imagine everything you're good at in life. You would say, how can I become as excellent as possible in it? Because often we do that in terms of relationship. Like, well, this is something I'm good at.
Right.
These are qualities that I have.
Check, close that book. Moving on.
But what if I took those qualities and really worked on those to the max?
Right.
To where I'm like the best at that. Not that there's a patience Olympics, but you know what I mean.
What are you working on these days?
Oh, I'm definitely still working on patience too. What I'm working on this year above all is balance. Because I'm realizing that as my life has shifted in beautiful ways, in ways that are welcome, and that I myself am proud of creating, success in work, a new beautiful marriage, our new home life, other things that have changed in the home. My son moved out. He's now living his own life on a different continent. Hey, Sam, shout out. Love you, boo.
Shout out.
Boo boo. I used to call him boo boo when he was a kid. Okay, that's just what we used to say.
Boo boo to foo.
As all of these things unfolded, became important to me to say, okay, this means I need to now rebalance my life because as much as all of these things may be beautiful and welcome, they're also shifting some of the dynamics of my life. And so to just take time for myself a little, take a deep breath and say, is everything at balance? Am I taking good care of myself, of you, of the work, of all the things of my daughter, of everything that's required of me? And am I finding balance in that to where I'm not feeling like I'm just chasing a lot of different, juggling a lot of different things. So that was important. And another big thing for me is just to never give up on really wanting to be excellent and deciding to be excellent in what I do and everything I do. Because honestly, I don't think there's any point in doing anything unless you're going to give it your 100% in life. Because, we're here for just a flash of a second kind of in the big picture. And the journey that I have in this body as this person, I want to get the most out of it every time. And that's up to me. That's totally down to my level of commitment and excitement and passion. And so checking myself on that all the time and saying, I could just sort of half-ass this job. I could sort of do this and trust that I'm already pretty good at this or that. Or I could say, no, I'm always going to show up extra strong and extra committed in life.
There are young people jumping into relationships. I won't say young. There are people jumping into relationships that believe that they can half-ass these relationships.
Yes.
Do you feel like it is important to enter a relationship and have excellence in a relationship?
I mean, what you're going to get out is what you invest, right? You're also going to get out exactly what you're allowing yourself to expect. And hear me out on that if you don't get what I mean. Most of the time in any kind of relationship, in any kind of interaction, we get from the world what we're expecting from the world. If I'm walking around thinking people are assholes, I'm probably going to get a lot of that.
Right.
And so on. You do the math.
If I expect love, I'm going to get love.
Exactly. I'm going to see a lot of that. So in a relationship, why am I entering it? Like, what am I up to in life? Right? I think when you're younger, it makes a lot of sense that often if you haven't defined friendship in deeper ways through deeper challenges. A lot of people get challenged when they're young, but sort of, it's okay to just sort of hang out with people that are like-minded. Why not? But relationships have their own dynamic. They tend to be about development. They tend to be about growth. Sort of just hanging out with someone doesn't really work in the long term, does it? Well,
there are a ton of people that get into relationships kind of flippantly because this person's cool, or we share the same interests in the world, and then I wouldn't mind. And then what happens?
What happens is that people start changing, people start developing, you start discovering other things about yourself, about the other person, because life is about development.
Right.
Even if you're not a super growth-oriented career or whatever personal growth person or spiritual growth person, life just tends to develop us.
Right.
To put change in our path. So that's why relationships end up being about challenges and about growth, in my view.
So let's talk about the relationships where one person is developing and one person is not.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that?
One of the greatest tests for patience in a relationship is actually when that's happening, when your partner is developing in an area where you at that time are not. Or they're going through something, a challenge that is really not your challenge, it's theirs to work on. What do you do?
Right.
It could be trauma from the past that comes up and throws your partner into a thing where it's like an identity crisis.
It could be a career shift or stress at work. That also causes an identity crisis.
Would you like to share what happened to you a couple of months ago? I mean, we don't have to go into all the detail.
Once again.
But we had something like that in our marriage in December.
Yeah, we just had a fun little, there was just shooting a film, and then our film was unexpectedly paused for about 2 months. And in that time, I had time to reflect about my actions, but not just the actions in the last few months, but my actions in the last year and my actions in this relationship and overall my relationship with God. And in that time, I felt like I needed to leave our home and go to Los Angeles, which is a place that I consider my spiritual center. And I needed to center myself.
Yeah, and it was interesting because when I was it wasn't anything dramatic that happened at work.
No.
It was more that life just slammed on the brakes for a minute and things just didn't happen the way you thought. Just your time plan changed.
It was a mini pandemic.
So all of a sudden, you were thrown into this kind of a lockdown situation where now all of a sudden you have nothing else to do but to think about yourself. When you were thinking you would be working really a lot and in the studio every day. And so that was enough for you to have this whole identity thing coming out.
Right. Which was fantastic. It drew me closer to God. It drew me back to the Word of God and studying the Word of God. And also, I think it shifted our relationship in the home overall.
Well, let's go back for a second, because here's where it becomes interesting, right? Patience. So my wife is not going to work as she thought she was, and she's having now more time on her hands in December than she thought she was having. So I'm sitting here realizing that and realizing that she's not feeling well. Because I was like, oh, that's fun. We can hang out and have more time before Christmas. And we always enjoy being together, and this is sweet. And then I'm realizing she's really not doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, you were not. You were just
laying in bed. I was a wreck. It was so much fun.
And so patience was required from me, sitting down, listening, not taking it personally, saying, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
I had a choice there to say, oh, my partner isn't happy to be with me, to be in the house or whatever. I didn't do that. I said, okay, I love this woman. I trust this woman. I want to know what's going on with my love. How can I support you here? And I had to realize quickly, and that's exactly what we're talking about today, I guess, is like, this is something I can't do much for you about. I can be there. I mean, of course, I'm sure it made a difference that I was there. I would like literally like bring you tea and, just,
fantastic.
Rub your feet, whatever, just be there, support you where I could. But at the same time realize, okay, this is something I can't like talk her through.
No.
There was somehow a spiritual question opened up that you needed to answer between yourself and yourself and your higher, your creator.
Oh, yeah.
And when you said to me, you know what, I need to go to LA for a while, and it's right before Christmas, and I'm like...
And also I'm leaving in 3 days.
Yeah, and so, of course, inside of me, I'm like definitely a little stressed out. I have abandonment issues way back from my childhood. And so the first go-to feeling is like, why is this happening? Why am I being left alone here? Why can't we do this together? What is wrong with me that we can't handle this together? And then my other side was like, okay, we've already discussed this. She's clearly going through something that I have not been able to provide the solution for, and that I also don't need to provide the solution for, because she needs to do this on her own.
Right.
It was like you were literally having like a spiritual growth spurt or something like that. And so I said, please go with God. I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. I'm supporting you wherever I can. But yeah, by all means go. And the first day was hard for me when you were gone. And I was a little, just a little stressed out. I was a little depressed, like not deeply, but yeah, I remember like taking a very long nap and being up for a little bit, making myself some food and going right back to sleep. Because I just like, for me, all of a sudden, there was also like a slamming on the brakes, like, whoops. Right. But then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm a person that trusts the greater good in life. I'm definitely an optimist, always will be. That's just my commitment in life. So I said, cool. Let's see what we can do with this. What's beautiful about this?
See, this is why I required a partner who has patience. And also, like we said in the first episode, a partner who can allow me to be free when I need to be. And have the confidence to know that I'm coming back. I'm doing this for us.
Well, and what I probably want you out there to hear is having the confidence does not always mean that it's pretty and that it's sweet at all times.
Right.
Do I have the confidence for that? Yes. Do I have the strength and resilience for that? All of that? Yes. Do I have the trust in you and in myself and our relationship? Yes. And there's still times when it's not going to feel sweet, when it's not going to be pleasant.
Right.
And it was one of those moments where I had a couple of moments where I was sad. And I also said that to you because I also felt confident that I can share it with you without burdening, not making this situation about me, because it did not need to be about me.
Right.
This was your conflict to have.
Right.
And I hope that came through for you.
Right.
But I was still honest in the context of all that. I was still honest and said, hey, this is kind of hard for me too.
Right.
But I'm here for you. I trust that this will be okay. Yeah.
And we did talk every day.
Yeah. We did.
I wasn't leaving you. I was leaving this energy to go surround myself with energy that could build me back up again.
Yes. Yeah, because you had something to figure out inside of yourself.
Heart. Your level of patience, can you speak to that? Do you think you can give advice on how to be that patient with your partner? Or do you think that's something that comes over time?
I do not want to go into the conversation that it's only possible when you age and get older and get wiser, because that's too easy.
Right.
I believe that, look, I know about myself that there were times in my life where I wasn't patient at all, where I was jealous, where I was stressed out. And even quite recently, like when you're challenged in life and you don't have a lot of inner balance, those things will have a much easier time throwing you off. And so even in the last few years, as I was sort of searching for where does my life go and where am I going to go after the tragedy of losing my previous wife and and so on, like there were times when I was definitely also impatient and a kind of like, just like a young man, so to speak, again, like a very insecure and stressed out. So let's not make it about that. I feel that in order to be a patient person, I need to practice inner balance. And I do believe patience is a gift of the spirit. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you can create patience from within yourself, like make yourself be patient, work really hard on your patience. I believe patience is something you need to ask for and receive, the way maybe we receive inspiration and creativity, where it's like, okay, so I need some good ideas. I'm going to sit here and make myself have good ideas. It doesn't happen like that. Anybody who's ever written a song or a poem or whatever knows this. It's sort of letting go and letting inspiration flow through you. And I feel patience is a gift from the spirit. So the issue with it, of course, is that it's not a pleasant gift to learn, because the practice of patience is exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
I once heard someone say, when you're in a supermarket and you're saying, God, please give me patience, you know what God's going to do. It's going to make the line extra long. So you have to stand there and wait for the cashier for an hour, because like, hey, you wanted to learn patience? Here you go.
Breathe. Practice your breathing techniques at the grocery store.
How are you going to practice a gift when you're not in a situation where the gift is required, where using the gift is required?
I think what also helped us was communication. Mm-hmm. Communication, effective communication, is the backbone for every relationship.
100%.
And the fact that we were in constant communication, I shared my plans with you. You knew where I was and what I was doing and when I was coming back.
Yeah, exactly. And another big advice, I mean, having that kind of conversation with each other, establishing that in the relationship will help you be patient with each other, because patience, there's also trust under it, right? So if I'm building trust through constant communication with each other, it'll be easier to be patient with my partner, because I'm trusting my partner, right?
Now, there are some people that don't like to communicate often.
Right.
Can we still build trust?
I mean, for someone who talks as much as me, it's almost hard to imagine that, but continue.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I know you know.
But thank God I'm a listener. We're yin and yang right here. But do you know what I mean? Like, there are some people who would want to leave and say, "Oh my God, I just need a break from you. Leave me alone." What do you say to that?
That's hard for me to
imagine.
I mean, of course, there's times when you don't want to always talk, when you also need some quiet. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, you know, like, there's so many different people out there in the world. If you're a quiet person, you probably need a quiet person. You should put it on the top of your list. Remember we talked about last time. Mm-hmm. I need a quiet person. I'm just not someone who likes to talk a lot. But sharing what matters and having healthy communication, I don't think there's a way around that. You could do it with less words.
All right.
Maybe.
All right.
But there's no way around. Like, how are you going to fix and learn the things about each other that are really important in a relationship without expressing them and communicating them?
Absolutely.
So
effectively.
I'm just trying to be careful here in how I put this together, because I don't want to judge anybody who communicates less, because, hey, that might be your style and it might be okay. And it might not always be avoidance just because you're not talking much. But in a relationship, it can quickly become avoidance, because I've seen a lot of relationships where people hardly talk to each other. My grandparents were like that. They wouldn't talk to each other for days, just about the necessary daily routines. And guess what? Their relationship was not happy. I think they were frustrated with each other on many levels and had at some point given up on communicating those things. And because my grandmother was very good at keeping grudges. And at some point, you know, my grandfather was probably tired of going through that, and vice versa. It's probably things that she held against him, you know, that he held against her.
And they stayed together.
Yeah, they stayed together because they were of a generation where it was like, this is just what you do, and now you're too old, and you just. Right. But they both expressed, even to me, imagine being a child and your grandparents, you know, bitch about each other in front of you in absence of one another. That's not fun. It could be that you just like a quiet life, but There's no relationship without communication. And people do change. People do go through stuff. Even quiet people, even less emotionally expressive people than you and me go through changes in life.
Right.
And it's not fair. You can't keep that from each other.
Well, that's where
communicate it.
That's where the term "Are you ready for the long haul?" comes to mind.
There you go.
Because if you are in a relationship with someone that you genuinely care for, then are you ready to be patient enough with them to allow them to evolve on their own time?
Well, that's another patience advice maybe for people who are looking for how can I be more patient in my relationship. Think about the long haul. What's the long haul goal that you have with your partner? If you're frustrated about something right now, about a short-term situation, she's going on a trip that I didn't want her to go to, or I would have preferred for it to be different. Is it more important to be upset about this 1 week or these few days that we're not where we wanted to be or where I wanted to be with her or with him? Or can we look together at the bigger issue and look forward to something that we're building for the future together?
As long as we are building. Also.
Yeah, as long as we are. But great. If that's what your patience conversation brings up in your relationship, if you're having a patience challenge, let's just call that a patience crisis or whatever, and it brings up, oh, damn, we're actually not on the same page with our long-term goals. Great, let's work on that. Possibly, find a peaceful way to break up because we might not be for each other if we don't have big goals together.
Oh.
Because long haul, I mean, can you be in a relationship without going somewhere together, being aligned on where you're heading in your future?
Well, you can.
You can.
I don't know if you should.
It's not going to last long, right?
Not in this day and age, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think there's too much going on in our world to get into a relationship without clear long-term goals.
I mean, most people nowadays are can give you the answer to the famous, where are you going to be in 5 years question, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I know that comes up in first dates, right? That's one of those typical first date questions.
The interview, right? The first date interview question.
Interview. I know. We talked about that at some point too. I'm sure we're going to have a podcast about first dates.
We did, but you know what? We actually kind of gave each other an interview, but our questions were my question was, what are your intentions?
Right. Yeah. And then the long-term stuff comes up. I mean, the first date issue is just funny to me because sometimes they do feel like job interviews.
Yeah, they are.
And it's in many ways, it's just so interesting because a lot of things are also not communicated in that way that really matter between two people. I think it's always great when your first dates are just what they are. They're awkward. You just got to get through them. But I feel like in the long term, long haul, again, patience, it's important to figure out things to do with the person if you're really both interested in getting to know each other well, to do things that are not just sitting in front of each other talking.
I actually don't like calling dates. I just like saying, hey, let's just go hang out and kick it. And maybe we'll do that again. And maybe we'll do that again.
Well, it's funny because how people, I learned that when I came to America that people were telling me I dated so-and-so. And I thought that meant they were in bed together and had a real thing. And it literally just meant I went out with this person twice. And I said, that's not.
That's dating.
Is that dating?
That's
so interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I had someone say once that hooking up only meant kissing.
Okay. Yeah.
She was like, yeah, we hooked up. And I was like, I thought you said you didn't have sex. And she was like, no, we didn't. We just made out. I said, no, you can't say you hooked up.
See, the words, man, I'm telling you. The terminology. Oh, I mean, we're getting away from our topic, but yeah.
Patience.
We can talk about that too. Patience.
Have patience with me as I digress. I have recently talked to two women who needed to hear the message of patience and having patience with your husband. And both of these women are in their 20s. I would never advise anyone to break up with your partner
Mm-hmm.
and leave. I'm always going to try to suggest that you maybe give it some time, maybe allow this person to some grace. Maybe you can try to be the patient one and be a little stronger for them. And in both of these situations, their male partners were not responding in mature ways.
Mm-hmm.
One of the women she's a new mom, and she says that her husband plays video games. And they had just recently gotten married and gotten pregnant. And then boom, he bought a giant television, put it downstairs, and now he spends all of his evenings downstairs. She did not know that he was as addicted to video games as he is before they got married. So now they have a new baby and she's nursing and she would like some time alone. But his excuse is, yeah, but this is my time to wind down in the evening. One, I told her, why don't you just drop the baby off?
With you?
Like, no.
Oh, no. Thank you.
I mean, maybe. No. What I said was, I was like, because she also said she wants her own me time. And he says, well, you get me time. You went to the spa. The spa is 3 minutes away from the house. And she gets an hour massage probably once a month. So that wasn't enough me time for her. I suggested she pump enough milk for the baby and leave the baby downstairs with dad while he's playing. Give him some time to bond with the baby. Take some time and just leave the house.
I mean,
Is that a mature response?
I don't know. I mean, I know that for a lot of young fathers, it's very challenging because they don't really feel a connection with the baby. That's often an issue. There's also jealousy. There's all kinds of conversations going on. Your wife clearly changes when she becomes a mother. Your partner is different now, and she has a different focus because she's physically extremely connected to this young being that's now in your life. But you as a father technically are not as connected to that child at the beginning.
Right.
Because babies mostly just connect with that. Mom is where they get food and warmth and protection and where everything is happening, where they've been inside of her for a long time. So they don't really even notice the father much at the beginning. It takes time until they bond out like that. So those are challenging times for young dads. That probably patience is definitely a topic in that.
So to wrap that up, she just pretty much mentioned that she feels like she's his mother. Yeah.
So now she's feeling she's mothering two people. And I would always be careful with throwing terms like that out in any place. Has she said that to him?
Probably not. No. That's the first question I always ask. Like, have you talked to your partner about this?
100%.
Have you talked to your partner about this issue?
Well, see, the thing is, is it something that burdens you, or is it something that you realize is important for you together to solve? If I'm just coming to you to vent about my partner, meaning me as that person,
right?
See, I have an issue with that because I feel like if it's a relationship issue, it should always be brought up inside the relationship. If I then find out, that's actually ground rules we have in our relationship. If I then find out we somehow don't see eye to eye and we can't find agreement in this, which we haven't run into something like that in our relationship. But if that were the case where I said, I just can't get there with you, I can't solve this with you, then we would agree that it's okay to go and talk to someone else who can give advice.
Right.
But I will not go. I've made a commitment in this marriage, and I've also put couples through that in like premarital counseling. Don't go elsewhere and vent about your partner. Because that can drive a wedge. You start making up these words like, "Oh, I'm a mother to him" and stuff like that. That's stuff that's now going to be floating between you.
Right.
And then you start seeing things through this lens and you get triggered. Mm-hmm. And then you end up like my grandmother and my grandfather, who eventually never want to talk to each other again.
Oh my God.
Because there's all this stuff going in the back of your head. There's this movie playing, this tape playing.
Right.
And then you can't experience yourself anymore. Put each other first and put your issues first as a relationship issue that you can solve together. So that would be my first thing. That
all comes back to communication being the backbone of every relationship.
Right. So what I've actually done often when people have come to me like that, where it's more venting, I said, it's okay, you can vent for a moment here, but I will tell you that I'm not going to let you go on the venting. I'm not going to listen to this for hours. Mm-hmm. If you want solutions, we need to talk together with you and your partner. If I'm the person that can help, or we need to figure out who can help you both together.
Amen.
But it's an issue for your relationship. It's not for me to sit here and allow you to vent for hours.
And you know what? If your friends come to you, tell them to email us at lovelifehacksshow@gmail.com.
Or you can find us on Instagram, Love Life Hacks Show, Facebook, Love Life Hacks Show, YouTube, Love Life Hacks Show. Why? Because we love helping out. We love giving advice. We love
whether it works or not, it can't hurt.
Exactly.
So a girlfriend of mine told me that she brought up her intimacy issues with her husband, mm-hmm. and his response was all of the issues that he had been having, which of course upset her because she felt like he did not exactly receive what she had shared with him. That he in turn took this as a moment to, of course, share all of his issues, which is what people do. It's like, oh, we're sharing? Well, here you go. Here are my issues with you.
Well, look, in an ideal world, we're always fully 100% receiving our partner and listening and letting them finish and
I know.
Letting them share and just witnessing their situation. And then we might give our own input and stuff like that. In life, in our, with all the pressures and the stress that life gives to us, it's not always like that, right? We, like all of us do that. We cut each other off. We start talking about ourselves.
It's hard to remember the reveal and receive rule in relationships.
So when someone came to me with that, I would also ask, so how did you bring up the conversation? How mm-hmm. did you start the conversation?
Mm-hmm. And when?
Because you see, if I've been burdened by something for a while and it's been building up in my mind, mm-hmm. it's very important for me to understand that you don't know that. You can't just read that from my face.
Right.
When I'm sitting down to talk to you, because now you're coming home from work or whatever, I don't know what your day's been like. I don't know what's going on. So mm-hmm. I can't just say, here's something that's important to me and now you need to be available for this conversation. Mm-hmm. I need to set the frame for that conversation. I believe it's my job, if it's important and if it's a burden, to say, hey, here's something that I need to talk to you and I need you to listen for a moment. Is it now a good time for that? Mm-hmm. Because it's something important.
Right.
If you don't set the frame for that, maybe don't be too shocked if it doesn't work quite the way you want it to. And if you did set the frame and it didn't work, well, then that might be one of those moments where you say, maybe we need a third person that we both trust.
Right. Because what if the answer is, no, this isn't a good time?
Yeah. Maybe we need to sit down with someone else or just have the conversation at a different time. Mm-hmm. But it's like a conversation of, I guess, context, right? Like right. What's happening? What is this conversation?
Right.
Why is it important for me to have this with you right now?
Right now.
What am I expecting of you right now? Mm-hmm. Before I'm even bringing up the topic. Because, if you can't be comfortable with your partner, your life partner, to go to that place, who else would you mm-hmm. be able to have it?
It is important to set aside times to practice speaking Absolutely. To your partner, to practice opening up, so that when you do have these moments,
yes,
your partner doesn't need to have a knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly.
Because you're well-practiced and well-versed.
Exactly. Great.
I actually don't mind when a wife uses the term, I'm mothering my husband, because honestly, right. if you're in a relationship with a person of a certain age, yeah, you will be. And you should expect that. Unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. And also, or even more so, isn't a part of every relationship also a mothering / fathering?
Yeah.
Isn't it true that in some ways you're also father or mother to your partner? Because like it or not, the first person that ever took care of you is most likely a mother or father figure. And so
hopefully,
in that sense, hopefully. And so in that sense, some of these echoes just come up in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, once I met an old man a long time ago who wanted to give me advice when I was a very young man. And he said, he was somewhere from Eastern Europe. And he said, a good woman should be the mother to you that you always wanted to have.
Oh, wow.
How about that, right?
Am I the mother to you that you always wanted?
You see, I'm just throwing that out there. Okay?
As he does not answer the question.
No, I feel that in many ways, yes, we do fulfill things in each other that we wanted from our parents. Absolutely. You give me some things that I've missed in my mother when I was a kid because I didn't always trust my mother growing up, and I don't have any problems with her about that now, but it was a thing. And when I was little, I couldn't always trust my mother because she was young and in many ways selfish and foolish and didn't always take care of me like I needed to be taken care of when I was little.
And you know what? I probably needed patience.
Right.
From my partner because of the patience that my father lacked.
Exactly. So in that sense, I'm just shying away from saying you are the mother that I wanted because that's a little too simple. But you have qualities that I wanted in a mother that I now feel I have in my life.
Do I look like your mom too?
I mean, spitting image. It's actually kind of uncanny.
We're going to post a side by side.
Oh, man. 2 episodes in and we're already talking about mom and papa. There you go.
Just jump in.
It's just how it happens.
We're going to change this whole episode. We're about to start going into the trauma caused by our parents.
No, that's another one. But patience. Again, yes. And so in that way, as I can give you the gift of patience that you have missed from even childhood and vice versa. Okay. You can give me gifts of trust and safety and security that I missed in my childhood.
Right.
Yeah, in that sense, we do have a mother and father role for each other in our lives because everyone has something that was lacking that they keep carrying with each other. And why not have the patience and the grace to be the person that provides that for your partner?
Or to help move them through. To help move them through the need to even have that anymore. Yeah,
because no man is an island and no woman either. At the end of the day, if you just want to be tough and strong and independent, period, then why be in a relationship, right?
Well, that was great. That was awesome. What did we learn today? Communication is the backbone of every relationship. Patience is a virtue. You're absolutely going to be a mother or a father to your partner.
And if you ask for patience, guess what?
You have to be ready.
It will be a little exhausting. You have to be ready. But the good news is when you ask for patience, you will receive it.
Hopefully.
It's available to everybody. It's just not true that you are an impatient person and you'll never learn it.
Right. Okay. I love that.
It's available
This is why I married him, because he's so positive.
It's just true.
That's good. Right. It's true that it is available to everyone.
Not everyone may have the same capacity for it, but everybody can be more patient than they are, for sure.
There's always room to grow.
Yeah.
Amen. Patience, little sister. Oh, patience, little brother.
All right, folks, that's all for today. Can't wait for episode 3 because this is actually really fun. And
I'm glad you're having fun.
It's beautiful.
Forced him to do this.
I have a different story about it, but okay.
Nice.
My memory might be failing me. Anyway.
I have patience. I'll have patience for you and your memory.
It's great.
Good night or day or afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. This has been another lovely episode of Love Life Hacks with your host, Tracy Love and
Chris Selberg, the patient one.
I guess you are the patient one. No. You absolutely are the patient one. Oh my God, especially when it comes to parenting. We're kind of shifting. Roles are reversing slowly when it comes to being the patient parent. But for sure, I've learned so much from you. Yeah. No. Yeah, absolutely.